Hey you guys. So I'm going to do a brief walkthrough of your assignments for this week, just so you have an idea of what you're supposed to do, and then just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking for, especially when you're doing the assignments. So in your class, under week of March 23rd, the very first thing that I need you to do is go to the lesson. It's called Of Mice and Men Week 1. So let's click on that. My internet's running a little slow today, so it might be a little slow, so forgive that. The very first thing that you're going to do is read this. It says that you're going to begin reading Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck this week. Please review the steps below so that you know exactly what you're going to be doing. Obviously, step 1 says watch this video. This video is not done yet, but there will be a link there when you look at this. Step 2 says look at the slang words page in this lesson to get an idea of what the characters are saying in the novel. The novel uses a lot of slang, words that we don't use now because, of course, it was written in the 1930s. So be sure to look at those slang words, and we'll go look at them in just a second. But we're going to first look at the other steps. So step 3 says download the assignments and chapters document. Let's look at that real quick before I go on to the next step. This document right here titled Week 1 Assignments and Chapters, make sure you download that. Now be careful. When you download it, don't automatically start typing in it because it's going to open as a Word document. You're going to need to save it in your Google Docs so that you have it as a copy for yourself and it doesn't end up disappearing and losing all your work when you close your Chromebook, okay? So if we go right back into Of Mice and Men, Week 1, after you've downloaded the assignments and chapters document, then you're going to read chapters 1 and 2 and complete the annotations. We will talk about that in just a minute. Step 5 is complete the vocabulary assignment. We will also talk about that. And then step 6 is respond to the journal question on Blackboard. So, step 1, watch this video. Step 2, slang words. So let's look at the slang words down here. There's some actually really interesting ones this week. So here's the list of slang words. Just as so you're aware, this one right here that has the asterisks, they blocked that out because it's a brothel. It's a whorehouse. That's what cat house means. So just be aware of that. It is for prostitutes. You will find the N-word in this novel, but I want you to be very aware that during this time period, it was very common to have these words written, which is why John Steinbeck included it in his novel. But it's not very common, and if I'm correct, it doesn't happen in the first 2 chapters. But just be prepared for it. I don't want you to be shocked or anything of that nature when you do see it. And also, I don't want you playing around with it. I do not expect you to use it in any of your writing at all. Do not use the word at all when you're answering any of the questions or you're doing the vocabulary assignment, okay? That is solely for being read in the novel. So here's the list of all the words that you might see. A Lulu. A Lulu is a woman who sleeps around. She's probably somebody who would be found in a cat house. You've got pants rabbits. Those are fleas. They've got fleas in their pants because they spend a lot of time out of doors, okay? So let's go right back. So those are the steps that you'll find in the lesson for this week. Please make sure you review that first. So now we're talking about this. You've downloaded this at this point, so I'm going to open it so you see what it looks like. So the very first page that you'll see is this. This gives you a breakdown of the instructions for what you're going to be doing with the chapters. The very first thing that you're going to do once you've gotten this downloaded is read chapter 1 and 2. But while you're reading, you're going to be doing annotations. We've done annotations before. Usually we do them in class together. I'll have you write down things that are interesting, write down things that maybe we have questions about, words that we don't know. You're going to be doing the same thing on your own. Now, if you notice, it says there should be one of each type. When I say that, I mean there should be one of each of these in each chapter. So technically you'll have 2 of each type, but 1 in each chapter. So you should have 1 section that interests you in each chapter, 1 section that does not make sense, 1 section that made you think of something you've learned, maybe in history or in science. You'll probably find some things in this novel that's going to remind you of other things that you've learned about. Maybe it's even something else that we've read here in English, or that you've read in other classes of English in your previous classes. You need to have at least 1 word that you do not know. I promise you there's going to be a lot of them, but be careful. Don't choose words that are on that list of slang words. You already know those because they're on that list. I won't allow you to count that as a word that you don't know. And then at the very end of each chapter, you need to have one short summary about what the chapter was talking about. After you've done that, you're going to complete the vocabulary assignment. That's on page 23. The reason it's so far down is because I have attached chapter 1 and 2 to this document. So if we go all the way to page 23, you'll find the vocabulary assignment. This vocabulary assignment asks you to take these words. They already have definitions. You don't have to look them up. And use them in a sentence describing the novel. You could be talking about a character, a scene in the first 2 chapters, maybe the book in general, maybe something that you think is going to happen but that relates to what you read in chapters 1 and 2. So you'll use each of these words to write one sentence about the novel. Let's talk a little bit about these annotations. I'm going to work backwards now. So when you're identifying one of each of these in each chapter, what you'll do is you'll highlight and then you'll write in parentheses what your comment is. So for instance, on page 3, there's a section here where it says Lenny dipped his whole head under, hat and all, and then he sat up on the bank and sat up on the bank and his hat dripped down on his blue coat and ran down his back. That's good, he said. You drink some, George. You take a big drink. He smiled happily. George unslung his bindle and dropped it gently on the bank. I ain't sure it's good water, he said. Looks kind of scummy. Lenny dabbled his big paw in the water and wiggled his fingers so that the water rose in little splashes. Rings widened across the pool to the other side and came back again. Lenny watched them go. Look, George, look what I'd done. So to me, that's very interesting. This is what I found interesting because why does Lenny sound so childlike when George is taking things seriously? So in parentheses, I would open my parentheses, I would say, I found this interesting because Lenny sounds like a child, even though earlier he was described as very large. Definitely not child-sized. And that's my first annotation. I would then look for this when you submit this assignment to make sure that you're identifying something of interest, and then you'll do the same thing again for identifying something that doesn't make sense, and so on, okay? And then step number 3 asks for you to respond to the journal question on Blackboard. So if we go back to Blackboard, you'll have journal question number 1. So we're going to click on this. This asks you, what is your impression of George and Lenny's relationship? Obviously, right now you don't know much about that, but you will within chapters 1 and 2. What do they make you feel as you are reading? Do you believe the author wrote their relationship with the intention of making you feel the way you do? Please respond in at least 2 paragraphs. Please make sure that you do not just write 1 sentence or 2 sentences, even 3. It needs to be 2 paragraphs. I want you thinking about what you've read this week. This is the comprehension section. I need to know that you know what you were reading, and if you don't, then I need to know what I need to go over so that you do understand what you're reading. So please put a lot of effort into this section, okay? As well as the vocabulary as well. So if we go right back into the Blackboard class, my fingers are popping all over the place, and my internet is slow. All right, so once you've done all of those sections, you're going to submit it here under assignment and annotation submission. Please make sure you submit the correct document. Some of you have a habit of submitting documents that are blank. I can't grade blank documents. These assignments are graded. They will be reflecting on you, so please make sure that you work hard and you try your hardest, okay? I'm available through text message or remind or email all week, 8 in the morning to 9 at night, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later, but I highly recommend not pushing that just because sometimes I'm not awake. Here is that phone number that I would prefer that you guys text me at, just to make it easier because Remind doesn't always work. Also, on Wednesdays and Fridays, I'm available for video conferences. If you just want some one-on-one time so that I can explain what's going on in the novel because you just don't understand what's going on, or you're struggling to figure out what to do with the assignments, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, happy to just kind of see you guys, because of course I haven't seen y'all, and I'm happy to help you at any point in time with as much as I can help you with, okay? So please let me know. Obviously send me a message before trying to do a video call. I'm willing to do Skype or Zoom, even FaceTime if necessary, and then at some point we're probably going to be using Collaborate here on Blackboard so that we can actually host maybe more people in a group, just so I'm not always having to talk to just one of you one at a time, okay? So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask me about them, and I will do my best to respond to you as quickly as possible, okay? So I will see all of you guys soon, hopefully, and probably upload another video very soon. So bye.